In today's episode, Amanda and I are going to be chatting about having the courage to live life and to be able to put yourself out there and to allow your light and your inspiration to shine into the world and bring joy and courage to those around you. Amanda has got so much wisdom to share in how you can mold and shape your creativity to be able to touch those who are being inspired by you and those that are surrounding you. It's such a powerful episode, and I know that you are going to be left feeling encouraged and wanting to grow your creativity to reflect more joy into the world too. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it.
Gotta get messy and show the world you growing as an artist. And you're free to be yourself. You got a dream, you need to start it. Stick together. Get messy says you're formally invited to a community where you can find people that spark the feel of excitement. Too many art supplies, not enough time. No, it's tougher, so you must find a way to feel some connection. We got a lot of people with the same kind, a great mind. We here for you, a platform so we can hear your views. Time's yours, forget chores. I know you bored of them same rules.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Get Messy podcast episode. Today, I am going to be speaking to Amanda, and I am so excited to hear about all of the wisdom that she has to share with us. Amanda, thank you so much for saying yes, for joining me for the podcast. And could you maybe introduce yourself to those that are listening?
Yes, sure. So thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. So I'm Amanda and I'm a mixed media. I started calling myself and fiber artist, but mixed media encompasses everything. And I love using different supplies dependent on what it is I want to express. So initially I started out as, a visual artist painting, and then I incorporated textiles, fabric, and then it was clay. And then whilst I'm in Barbados, I have a lot more space that I can work and expand and do bigger pieces. So I brought in clay and I make my own paper clay. So mixed media artist, and it's just like, it's my happy place. It's my home in terms of being able to explore all of those mediums. And I teach online. I'm a published author. I published a book of poetry a couple of years ago, but I have ideas for other books that I want to bring out. And overall, it's about encouraging other people to be creative and finding whatever that happy place for them is. It doesn't have to be my way, but just finding what the way is for you. So that's me in a nutshell.
Wow, that's a lot. It's a big nutshell. I love that you've got so many facets, because immediately I'm feeling, that you live your creativity in everything that you're doing. That's what I'm getting, the feeling that I'm getting with you having so many different interests and ways of keeping yourself creatively engaged, is that being creative is just in the fabric of who you are and how you are living your life every single day.
Yeah, for sure. Because somebody asked a question. They said, "Oh, what's your hobbies?" And I had a hard time thinking, because everything I do is creative. It's just like, my hobbies is creative. I go to sleep thinking about experimenting creatively, and then I get up and my day job is something creative. And I just believe that we've separated. I think when we're small and we're growing up, creativity is almost forced away from our lives, because I grew up being told, not only at school, but like your parents, what's the one job you want to do? And there was four, a teacher, a teacher, a nurse, or a secretary. And it was just like, why does it have to be so limited? And so now in my adulthood, it's taken me years to kind of get to the point where it's just like, no, everything we do has creativity within it. And if we really sit down and think, just even looking around us and seeing more, oh, look, that's everything has been designed. So that's a creative act. And then even on our jobs, even if we say, no, that's got nothing to do with creativity because I'm a janitor in a school, but it's the way you approach problems. It's the way that you, I know, the swirls of the mop, or, let me do it in this way because it saves time, or, so you just think about different
Yeah.
ways you can infuse creativity. And now I'm content with that. It's just like I'm at
Mm.
peace with that. Like I don't have to, it's not about what anybody else wants for me, because this is my life. It's about what I want and how I feel, how I know it makes me feel, and how I've seen how it makes other people feel, even if they're just watching it, or if they are, taking part themselves. It's something important. It's like breathing.
Mm.
And it's about allowing ourselves to look at the different ways we can express, because and if we say had lost some of our senses, in the set, our sight or smell or hearing, the body then makes up for those things. And so somebody who may be blind has, extra sensory hearing or touch. And it's how we allow the different aspects of creativity to express how we might be feeling, because we may not have the words for it. And it's about exploration. So you have to explore. You're not necessarily going to know the first time you do it, or years into it, but it's the constant, well, let me try that, what if, or
Mm.
what if I, let me listen to a podcast and two people talking about art and creativity. So yeah.
I think it can lead to amazing places if you just stay open to
Mm.
experiencing different things.
As creatives, we could say, like, I've got all of these ideas and I don't want to share them with anybody. Am I just going to keep them for myself? But we know how we feel when we say, look at somebody's work and we think, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. That's just
Mm.
touched me, in a place I never knew that was covered in cobwebs or scars. And it's just so important. I always encourage people to share. I mean, obviously we've got the way that, with technology now, and how, artists' work are being siphoned and taken and used to create other things, and that's wrong. But as a means for sharing and helping each other grow, it's like, if I grow, you grow, it's going to make the world a better place. If we're sharing and caring for each other. And that's, I think if you come from that standpoint, and it's like, what can I share? Yeah, obviously I've got bills to pay, but there's things that we've got within us that it's the encouragement that we can use our creativity for and use our art for.
Oh, listening to you talk is just, it's so good. So it's making me want to know, what did your journey up until this point look like?
Okay. Well, as I said earlier, it was like, you start off in life as there's the one thing. But I was remembering back to when I was 11, and I wanted to act and I wanted to sing. And I used to, our family lived in apartments and we were on the second floor, but we had a balcony. And so I remember every weekend I would stand on the balcony and sing at the top of my lungs, because there was a road, like there was apartments in front of us, but behind that was a main road, and cars would pass, and I would stand on the balcony singing with my brush, and saying, I'm only 11, but I'm trying to make it into showbiz. And I was hoping a producer would hear me. And so
Oh.
my kind of idea of creativity started way back then, and it was just like, yeah, I want to sing. At school, there were two supply teachers who were only with us for a term, who encouraged me to, in my art, and they saw something in my art. And their words, they only said it, each of them only said it like once, but it stayed with me and it encouraged me. And then in my 20s, I was doing portraits, drawing portraits using graphite. And then I wanted to be a card designer, and then I wanted to be a jewelry designer. And then all throughout my life, I've been collecting fabric, thinking I was going to make my own clothes. And I further along, you know, I've been doing kind of exhibitions and not really thinking, you know, anything too big about it. It was just like, yes, I want to be represented by a gallery. I want to have an agent. I want to sell my work for millions. And then my mother, say 15 years ago, no, 20 years ago, actually, my mother then developed dementia and I became her main carer. And I had to find a way to be creative because it was just like I didn't have time. I was driving from my home, driving in England, it sounds a lot. I was driving 10 miles, but I'm sure for yourself, you'd be used to driving like for hours, or you know, if you come from the States, you know, 4 hours driving is nothing. But 10 miles, it took me about an hour door to door, an hour 15. But it was just like I was so caught up in it. I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know how to deal with the fact that I was losing the mum I grew up with. I wasn't able to then connect with her as the adult daughter and the mum with all this wisdom. But I used that time to get to know her where she was. And it was just like I had to learn how to communicate in a different way. And so I just got a catalogue and I gessoed the pages, and I had 2 colors. And when I would go down to my mum's, that was like 3-4 times a week and stay overnight. And I also had a 3-year-old. But I would do some art journaling. And then one day I had said to her, Mum, do you want to do some art? Thinking, you know, and she was just like, yeah, what do you want me to draw? And so I was like, oh my gosh, I got the paper, got her some, at the time I just had some colouring pencils, and I gave it to her, gave her a magazine, and she sat there for an hour and a half just enjoying that time. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I was doing my journaling, and that then led me to ask the day centre that she was attending if they wanted me to run art workshops. They said yes. But within me, I was just like, I don't want to do arts and health. I don't want to work with people who've got dementia, and I don't want to do this. But as I prayed, I felt God was saying to me, this is what you need to do. This is where you'll find your peace. This is not only about you, it's about other people who need your help at this time. And so 6 months later, they said,
Sorry.
do you still want to do it? And I was just like, yeah, okay. And they said, well, we'll pay you. And I was just like, oh, okay. And so for 3 years, I did the art workshops. I, you know, worked with 6 people every week. I would spend time working with 6 people, different people. We'd have themes, and it just really opened up a different side of how I could use my art. It was just like, yeah, you might want to, you know, have a painting that sells for £1 million and it goes to one person, but look what you're doing in the lives of these people. And I realized that my mission, as it were, as an artist, was to use my art in that way to see how I can encourage others. And you don't need to worry, you don't need to worry about the money coming in. Yes, you have to, it's not easy. Yes, you have to find ways to, you know, make sure that you can make a living. But at the core of it, it is about how can I encourage somebody else? How can I enable somebody else to see where it is they need to be for themselves? How can I encourage somebody else to find a supply, a material, even another artist who can encourage them in a way that enables them to say, well, what if I tried this? Or let me, you know, just explore these supplies that I'm sitting on, that I've got, that I'm saying, oh no, I'm going to save it for best. And, you know, it is about, the mission for me now is about everything that I do, everything that I create, every art piece. It is for somebody. So whether they're going to see it and immediately have an effect, or they're going to buy it and they have an effect with it being in their space, it is about how we can pour love into everything that we do, and then release it into the world. So even if it is just I'm sharing on Instagram, or, you know, I share it in my, what is it? You've now got a status in your WhatsApp. You can share it in your status. You know, there might only be 4 people that see it, but, you know, that's 4 people that you've touched today, you know, in some way. You don't know. And there's so many people that every now and again, when I'm feeling, oh, do you know what? Oh, I don't know. I don't even know whether I'm doing the right thing. Somebody will message me or leave a message on Instagram and say, you know, that post really inspired me, you know, or because I've spoken about my journey with my mum, who, you know, is now gone, past 2 years ago. They say, you know, I'm a carer. I've been a carer, and I never knew how to express how I was feeling. It took me at least 10 years to get to that point where I could talk about it. And I just felt it was just like everything had to be compartmentalized. And I could only, you could see this bit. So when I'm at mum's, I'm organized, focused, and mum has to eat, get dressed, go to the day center, come back. I need to make sure that she's done some activity, is that I've spoken to her, found out about her day, even if she's telling me the same thing over and over again, or that day she's in a mood and she doesn't understand, or she doesn't recognize me, or you know. So yeah, and then I've just continued. It's just, what kind of resources can I provide for carers? So I'm trying to build those things up and place on my course platform. What are the courses I'm bringing out? It's got to be about, it's more than just I'm teaching you how to make tags. It's how can you walk away with a skill, with something that you think, I'm going to use this. Yeah, and so my journey now is I make my art. That's what I do. I create online courses. I take part in hosted courses by other teachers. I connect with other artists. I do exhibitions when I'm in Barbados, and wherever I can in other places. I'm on YouTube. I, you know, have a YouTube channel. I started a blog. I've had a blog for like since 2011, and I started a podcast, and it was just about sharing encouraging messages. And it was just like, you know, like it might be the words, I might say a word like inspire, and then I just talk for like 4 minutes about ways in which you can inspire yourself, you can inspire others, you can set up your day so that you can be inspired, you can put things in place to help you. If you're feeling a particular way, here's a little resource you can use. And it is just about, yeah, my every waking moment is about creativity. And I've got loads of books of lists and things that I want to create and do, and think to myself, I say, God, you know, have I got enough time? How many summers do I have left to get all these things that I want to do? So I had like a mini revelation, and it was just like, you know, all of the experiences we go through, whether we understand them at the time, sometimes just like a cut, we cut ourselves and we can develop a scar. We develop a scab before the scab comes off, and then the scar. And it's just like all of these things can leave internal wounds that the scab is still there. We haven't dealt with it. The issue's passed. And yeah, you know, I'm now I'm a grown woman, but you're still remembering that. You still haven't got past it. And we have to find ways in which we can gently heal those things so that we can move on and we can, feel that where I am now in the moment is where I need to be, where I'm in the right place and this is the right time. And I don't need to hide because I'm not dealing with that little girl who felt she wasn't listened to, or who maybe have been bullied along the way, or people. And then you can look back at these things and say, wow, I wasn't bullied because I did something. It was that these people were in lives that were so messed up that they didn't know how to express themselves. So they picked on somebody else whose light might have been shining so brightly that the light was reflecting the hurt that they had. So they had to, and that's what the bullying. But as the person who was bullied, you go through that journey and you think, yeah, what did I do? Why did they pick on me? Why? Why is it? And it's just like, no, because you don't know how much light that you bring to a situation, and not everybody can handle it. So you come humbly with your truth and your gift, not hiding yourself. And sometimes you reach those places in people. And I think, again, that's where our creativity hits people in places that, I can say all the things I can, be recounting for years and days and that not touch somebody, but they see a sculpture. I created a sculpture. It's called Me, Myself, and I, and it's just like, it shows, the adult, the child, and the parent, and it's just like, how do we then deal with a situation? Who needs to be present in this situation? When somebody said something and I feel uncomfortable, do I like, why did they say that about me, and be thinking about it for weeks to come? Or I say, no, why did you say that? It's the adult. I mean, why did you say that? That's unacceptable. And so being brave enough to know that everything that you have within you is a gift, and there's so many treasures waiting to come out. So it has been a journey, and it's constant reflection. For me, it's about, how are you feeling about this? And it was that I was sitting writing in my journal, and it was just like, when I say sometimes, oh, I feel like I'm 30, I'm not 30. But I feel like I still feel like when I was 30, and it was just like, well, what was the main thing that happened then? And why do you not feel good about where you are and who you are now? And so I was just like, oh yeah, it must be, either the hurt, the scar, the scab, the not feeling able to present who you were, or be proud of who you are and be comfortable and confident. But then when you hit a certain age, it's just like, how many years have you got left to be pretending? You just got to live your life, because this is the one life we have. So, you might as well live it to the full and make the most of, every single day. There's no point in hiding. There's no dress rehearsal, like the plays, like the play where you have a 2-week dress rehearsal period and then, the performance night. This is it.
I wanted to ask, it's you're living with courage right now, right? You've got the courage to follow ideas and dreams. Have you always been so courageous, or is this something that you've had to develop over time?
Well, I was thinking about that. I was thinking recently, because I was saying, I remembered that 11-year-old girl who was standing on the balcony, like you had all the neighbors and people you didn't know, and I'm standing there singing. So I was just like, wow, she must have had some courage. She did have some courage. I've not always had the courage, in the sense that I felt I had to hide aspects of myself, because I was bullied in my primary school. And, so between the age of 6 and, no, actually the first day I arrived at primary school, so 5, 5 and 11, it was just like it seemed like every day, but once a week, I'd have somebody picking on me, somebody wanting to beat me up or whatever it is. And I could never understand, because it was just like, we never, it was just, you treat people how you want to be treated. Like, I never did that. I never fought with, okay, I might have fought with my brothers and sisters, but we didn't grow up in that kind of environment where, somebody was the bully and somebody was whatever. So it took me for years, and I never told anybody until I was like 21 that happened. And I was thinking, why does it feel like it was only yesterday? That was like a good 10, 15, 20 years ago, and good 15, 10 years ago, went on to when I was 21. And then it's just taken me, it's constant reflection to think about, well, what is it you're doing? But I think there has always been that courage within me. I've always said, what if? I've always not needed to have to wait for somebody to say, well, I want to travel, like I was going to say like go to a different city and just jump on a train, or I always worked in different parts of London, and trying something new was never something that I shied away from. But there's always been this, well, what do people think about you? I was always a people pleaser, and that combination of just going out there and exploring, and then thinking, oh my gosh, what if people don't like me? And it was just like, it's taken me years to say, well, what if they don't? Not everybody's going to like you, with 8 billion people in the world. Even if even if it's the 1%, I usually use this scenario. I usually say I only need 1% of the world's population to see my work. And then when I figured that out, it was like 75 million. And it was just like, I don't even need 75 million people to see my work. So, it's just like, if we constantly worry about, and this is what I say to myself, if we constantly worry about what people think, we'll never do anything. We'll end our lives wondering what if, and then we'll go to our graves with dreams and desires, hopes and goals that are unfulfilled. And all of those things could have helped somebody. It could have, the revelation of the scars that we can internally, scars that we have, and our creative journeys is about healing those scars, as well as creating art that ministers to other people. But what if something you created stops somebody from connecting with that creep that contacted them out of the blue, and stopped them from jumping on a train and going to somebody's house where that could have impacted their life detrimentally? What if something you created stopped somebody from taking their lives, or got them to seek help? What if that helped them to make amends with a family member who they haven't spoken to for years, or shone that light on, do you know what, I can write, and I don't even need to write and be a bestseller or be the next Steven Spielberg. I can just create. And that's what I thought with my book of poetry. I've been writing for years, and I had like about 100 poems, all like the papers were going yellow. And I said, let me type them up and publish this poetry book. At least I could say I've done that. And I did it. And oh my gosh, the feeling, it just felt so good. And it was my mother passed in the July, and I happened to be in Barbados, and I couldn't get there. She passed in July and was buried in August, and I couldn't get there until like mid-August. And I typed up all these poems, and I had to sort out the house and the dog, and I published it just before I came to England. And it was just like, I was then able to say, oh my gosh, I allowed that to push me. It was just like mum passing, COVID, and I hadn't been able to see her, and they weren't letting people into the she was in a nursing home for 2 years, and I wasn't able to see it. And it was just like the worst thing, that period of time, the 5 years ago, and it can't even realize, it doesn't feel like it, but that was the worst time. And yeah, it was just like that pushed me, published the book, and I dedicated it to my mum. And it was just like the best thing. And every time I think about it, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's not about I'm going to sell millions of copies again. It's just about, this was something I said I was going to do, and I did it. And oh my goodness, you can say that's how you affect change. We have the idea, we break it down, and then we action it. And because sometimes we can feel, I could never do that. Like, I speak to loads of people, I could never publish this. It's just like, why not? It's free. You don't even have to, you just type it up, upload it, and then that's it. So and then we live in an age where we have all this technology around us, that there is nothing that you can say that, oh no, I can't do that, unless you want to you might say, I want to be a passenger in the next rocket that goes to Mars. But it's just like anything you think about, you can put your mind to and do. And it was just about releasing myself from the I can't, or what would people think, and just think, I only need to think about what God thinks about me. And I know that God has placed so much in me. It's my responsibility to be creative and create and to share it. There's, that's it, there's no arguing or anything. It's, you create it, you help, you minister to other people using your art, you help them find how they can be creative. You just get on with it, and you make room for yourself, and you care for yourself, because that's part of it. It's not, you got to know when to take a nap, when to take that break, when to be all right with, just let me just read a book. Let me just sit out in the garden and enjoy what the flowers that are growing, the scents, the breeze that blows, and being also content with this, the simplicity of life. We can make it so confusing and complicated. And what just came to you as well, we can sit on so many supplies that that we don't use.
Yep.
How many things have we been collecting, that you go out and buy something and you think, and then you're looking and clearing up and you think, oh my gosh, I already had 2 of these things. Or you save for best, and then when you go to use it, it's all dried up. I've had that a lot, especially
Yes, yeah.
studio here in Barbados. The heat, the glass, if it's in plastic, the plastic will crack and disintegrate. I had inks in these glass jars, and I was saving them for best, and 5 out of the 8 of them dried up, and it was just like,
Use the things.
for sure.
Go out into your studio and find the things you've been hoarding and put them to good use.
Yeah, go shopping. You can go shopping in your space, and things that you put aside and put down. It's just like amazing.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, shopping in your own space. Oh, it's so beautiful to listen to how you explain creativity. It's just got such a sacredness within your life. It's really special.
Yeah, it is. And I think, and that's why I say, everybody needs to find what it is for them, because we all have that thing that when we can, and that some people say, what is it that you do that you can forget time? You could be doing, and then you look and you think, oh my gosh, a whole hour. And not something like scrolling or not playing an online game, but actually, let me use my hands, let me make something, and I say to people, sometimes people feel that I don't have time to create, and I'll say to them, okay, get your watercolor crayons and just do some swatches, or get some pencils, watercolor pencils, and sharpen them. You don't even have to think, I'm going to do a painting. Just sharpen your pencils and tidy up your space, or just go through a drawer and see what exciting things could be in there that you thought, you had forgotten. And yeah, it is about that, our practice, developing your practice, but the practice it can take a variety of forms. It can just be clearing that shelf and making it nice and tidy and dust free, or organizing papers, or looking through, if you use jelly plates or you're making background papers, let me just go through them and see what excites me. Or let me see, I do this a lot in my journals. So I create a background and I see what figures are coming out, what faces can I see. And even if I don't do it on a background, I could be looking at, I used to do it, I realized I did it a lot when I was younger, because we had like these highly patterned papers back in the 70s and highly patterned curtains. And you would look at it and you think, oh, I see a face there. Or I'd look out into the garden and just kind of rest my eyes, and just the way that all the plants, and the ones in the front and the ones in the back, and you sometimes see like a face, and it's not to be like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing faces, but it's just like sometimes they're really interesting faces, and it's just like, if it's on a journal page, I think, oh, let me just get some gesso and see if I can just bring this out. And sometimes I feel, actually, no, that looks like an angry face. So you might have something to say, but you're not saying it right now, because that's not the space. It's like, the only thing I want to bring out through my creativity is revelations, reflections, joy, messages of hope, messages of healing, understanding, care. And it might not necessarily be for somebody else. It could just be for myself. But Amanda, it's time to just be still. And the way that you can do that is, you're not going to draw a picture, you're not going to write, you're just going to get some watercolors and be like that child and just play on the page. And then you can get your black pen, and then you can doodle, then you can get your white pen, and then you can doodle, and that's all it is. And then it might go on after that, because you could be doing that for hours, and you think, oh yeah, I want to draw this face, or I'm going to come back to that. And that's the other thing that I think is important, that we create these spaces for ourselves. So you might have a journal page where you add color, then you might add lines in black ink, and then they're doodling spots that you can come back to later. So I have a lot of those. And I used to think, why is it I'm always making journals? How many journals can I, and it was just like, you make as many as you need, because what you've made there is for that time. And then you can come back into the page, and then you can play in that. And a journal for me is not, okay, it's finished now, it goes up on the shelf and that's it. It's, I can go back in and I can look back and remember, oh yeah, that's how I used to draw faces. Actually, I want to add black ink to it now. I want to bring it to today and amend it and just play, yeah, and just be free. And it's that, yeah, being free in your creativity, and not being your own gatekeeper, because we can stop ourselves, and it's just like, no. No, I'm not. And even if it's just for 5 minutes, and that's the other thing I try and tell people, especially carers, it's just like, no, I don't have an hour to sit. You might have been able to do that with your mum. And I'm saying, well, no, you got 5 minutes to just say, let me shut my eyes, sit in the sun, and think about that place that I like being. Feel the breeze on your skin. Set your timer for 5 minutes and go there and just relax your body and just feel the tension of your body on the floor or wherever it is, or the chair, and just stay there, and then come back into the room, feel the chair. And that is such a soothing exercise that wherever you are, it's just like, I would say, okay, Mum's gone to lie down, let me do that, or let me get my journal, or Mum is watching a program and it lasts for half an hour, let me do that. So constantly finding that space for yourself, or let me just go out or let me go out with her, because she had a wheelchair by then. Let me go out with her in the wheelchair. Let me find ways of injecting that peace, even though that moment is not a peaceful moment. Like I would on my way to my mum's, when I used to first go down there, it was down a highway. And then I found going the back roads would lead me to areas where the houses were where the rich and the wealthy would live. But it was a beautiful scenery, gardens, and I would drive that way, and that would give me joy. So I'd go to my mum to feel joyful. Or as I say, we had a local park. So if mum didn't want to, no, I don't want to eat, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. So I'd say, okay, I need to go here. Can you come with me? And we'd go in the wheelchair and I'd go to the park, and then we'd just sit there for 5 minutes and she would enjoy it. And then I would feel that's what I needed. So it is, finding all these things that we can do and put in place for ourselves, tools, techniques, exercises. It's just been so important for the journey, because we live in a time where there's so many things happening that we would all still be very different people if we didn't have creativity in our lives.
Yeah, that's true. Creativity is really, it's a very powerful tool, and you can use it in whichever way you need to. As you're saying, like, life changes and your circumstances are constantly changing, and your creativity is something that you can take with you and alter as you need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's just brought me so much joy, and and then I'm glad for the other people I can come into contact with, or I could go onto Instagram. It was just like really interesting. One day I went onto Instagram and I went onto this artist page, and I didn't even have to scroll through her feed. It was just couple of pictures I saw, and it inspired me to it was just like, okay, I'm coming off Instagram. And it was just like, I just wanted to then play with my supplies. And I love that when, we can do that for other people. We can, we come away giving them so much, feeding them with just what is needed. And they come away feeling excited that and inspired and encouraged. And yeah, that's a joy for me, where somebody says, yeah, I felt so inspired by what you said or what you drew, or I try and incorporate reflection in a lot of my lessons. How will we how can we express ourselves using this particular exercise, whether it's a tag that we then on the back write how we're feeling, or messages to ourselves, encouraging messages. So yeah, it's just so important. Yeah.
Oh, Amanda, it has been amazing talking to you. It's just, you have been such an inspiration.
Well,
My
thank
page
you.
is full of notes, and it's been an absolute treat to be able to talk to you. Thank you so much for being so open and for sharing your heart with us. It's been fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.